Peace family, this is your boy Gerald. It is Sunday, way in the wee hours. It is going on 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and it is going on 2 o'clock Hawaii Standard Time. Aloha. So you're probably saying, wait a minute, if it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast and it's 2 o'clock there, what are you doing up? Well, family, I've always made a point that when I have something on my heart, I allow myself to be transparent. And for those who have been with me, going on now almost a decade, you guys know my story. And if this is the first time you're seeing this, thank you. So this video I'm putting out, I haven't even found a title for it, but when I do, the soul paralysis is about, I hear, be true to thyself. And the only way that you can be true to thyself is you must be transparent in everything that you do. Because that is the testament. That is the essence. That is you. And I know that when I began my walk back in October of 2011, I was determined to do just that. Along the way, I've learned a lot of things about myself. I've gained strength and foundation and what I stand upon, as well as I've found the ability to tap into not only my wisdom by discernment, but also to find temperance in silence. So how you doing, family? Doing well? I hope so. You gotta mind the appearance. And I'm gonna throw this disclaimer out because even 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm making me some coffee. And I'm like, well, why are you doing that? Because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I kind of dozed in and out. But about an hour and a half ago, I got a message from my daughter. For some that know my story, you know that I've strived and tried to repair a relationship that has been estranged, and it's going on 15 years. And in that 15 years, I have communicated by text, because I can't hear a voice on the phone. And I realize that is nothing but a form of control, controlling the dynamic, which is nothing but fear. So I get this email, this text from her, and I'm reading it, and I'm looking at the certain themes, and I could tell that the little girl and the adult is still afraid. To give you a backstory, one of the things that I did, which I've always done, no matter where I was, in my life, I made sure that her mother knew how to contact me. One of the things I used to always do back when I was in the service is I used to use my mom's address or number, because your mother's going to always know where you're at. A mom always knows where a child is. So that was always ingrained in me. So no matter what I was doing, no matter what changes I was making, I always made sure there was a means of contacting me. Because far too many times we hear stories of the child wants to have a relationship and the communication's not there. But see, that's not the case nowadays, because technology, you can reach out and talk to someone in real time. Just like you're seeing this video right now. If you had my number, you could just hit a button and the responsibility would be on me to pick up. So we've come a long ways in the last, I want to say 92, because even back in 92, you still was on the remnants of to have that good phone number, that good mailing address. And if that didn't work, you had that one person that knew somebody that knew someone in regards to who you're trying to contact. So that veil has been lifted, and the responsibility is fallen on the individual. Now, give me a second, because my coffee should be done. I'll be right back. Okay. See, even with technology, you can pause, do what you got to do, pick right up where you were without missing a beat. So, you know, I was happy but sad. I don't even want to say sad. I was perplexed because, you know, I've come to learn that we live in a reality where people just don't put the effort in like they should. And so when I was reading what she had wrote, not to read too deep, just read what she wrote, you know, I made sure that there was no bias, you know, because I can't ignore the fact that she's hurt. The underlining emotion is, I haven't had you in my life for 15 years. But in return, she doesn't understand everything. And I've explained as best I could, because it hasn't changed. It's the truth that whatever bothers her, whatever she needs clarity on, I am willing to discuss whatever she needs. Why? I'm her father. I'm supposed to do that. That's my daughter. I'm going to always have her best interests at heart. She's an extension of me. Plus, let's not ignore the fact you ain't promised tomorrow. You realize how many people wish they could get 5 minutes with family members, and they don't. I mean, look at all of what's going on in the media. Look, Keisha Cole just lost her mom. And as I've matured in my life, I've heightened the responsibility and the awareness to make a point to communicate. And see, that was something I've always done my whole life. I was always like that link in the fence of the family. I was always calling people. I was always putting forth the extra effort. I was always doing that, to a point that I was depressed. I wasn't taking care of myself emotionally. See, that's one thing I've learned about emotions. If you don't take care of yourself, how do you expect to take care of others? Even though the responsibility is on them, because those are their emotions. But you can be empathetic. You can show compassion. That is why honesty is always the best policy. In these last 5 years, family, I've strived so much. Oops, spilling my coffee. To make my family whole. So, and I mean that in regards to my relationship with my daughter, because I really believe that's one of the biggest problems that plagues us worldwide. I was going to say nationally, but no, it's worldwide. That undeniably, a daughter needs her father. Granted, yes, there are great dads out there. If I had a hat, I would tip it to any man that is willing to step up and take on the responsibility of another man. Especially when they want their own. And as bittersweet as my journey has been, I've been very blessed to be in people's lives for even it's a brief moment to show care or relationship. I've always been true. And I know that no matter what, those people, no matter what, they can't take that away, because they know the kindness, the time, that I've given. Priceless. Why? Because it comes from a place of love. And that's the problem with the world, because the world doesn't have it. The world wants you to be numb. Excuse me. See, I'm sitting in front of a fan. I'm in my garage. So, I know that when I not the flip-flop, but I remember when I started my YouTube channel back in 2011, and I remember how the narrative was then compared to 10 years later. And I will tell you, family, it has been nothing but systematic agendas to dumb you down, to numb you up, and keep you blind. The things that should be important have been taken a back seat. The things that are trivial are platformed. And it's sad because ultimately it has an impact on everybody. And what I'm alluding to is this. How do you think generational curses exist? You know generational curses are real. They're real, family. But you know what the common denominator is? Fear. Being complacent. A downright an alternate agenda. And what's sad is, you know, I've always echoed the people that are in your life, the people that make your reality. It first spawns here in your mind. That is why we attract what we are, not the other way around. Like attracts like, not lack. But they want you to believe that. I'm saying that as a general narrative. And that is why our communities are disheveled. Our moral compasses, the moral compass, are not being affirmed. And the examples that are required are being held hostage. First, emotionally. Secondly, socially. Now, I say all that because my connection with my biological father was not good. Wasn't. But as I got to mature into my adulthood, I started to understand that generations have certain narratives and certain perceptions. And also, your parents are only working with the tools they've developed. So, excuse me. Hold on. Had that sneeze. You know, sneeze, when you sneeze, it comes in threes. Had to catch it. So, you're only working with what you know. So, if you're not mature enough, you're not going to make sound decisions. Even though that your intent may have been genuine, still falls short. But it's your responsibility to learn from those. So with that being said, it took a long time for me to not only humble myself, to get past my fear of misunderstanding, Because it's not about judgment, it's about understanding. That's why cycles repeat themselves. Because if there's no communication, how can you make an adjustment, a correction, a removal? How can you do any of that? You've got to talk. And you must commit to that. So it made me think that, hold on. With the situation that I have with my daughter, I already know where it comes from. She's hurt. But even if that's the case, there's a responsibility there too, because, you know, I kind of understand why some of our elders, you may have even heard family members may say, I'm going to wash my hands of the situation. And that sounds cold-hearted. But you don't understand where that comes from. And after thinking about it, pondering, no, I didn't say that. But really reflecting on that term, I said, well, you know what? There must have been something challenging to the point where they felt it's not in their control. Sometimes you got to step back and allow things to manifest on their own. And that's why a lot of times, I mean, look, not a day has gone by since I had my daughter on my hip that I have never wondered about her well-being. Do you hear me? You see how I got these? Those from endless tears of what hopelessness feels like. And all you want is resolution. That is why I'm going to say this to you, queens, kings, listen up. The worst thing that you could ever do, if you're having issues with your relationship and you have children, leave the children out of it. The most selfish thing you could ever do is weaponize your children against the other person, the other parent. That could spawn from adult conversations, not having the restraint to discuss whatever you wish to discuss amongst the environment. Because we don't give children the credit that they deserve, because they understand at a far younger age than you can imagine. And they're sponges. And if you're constantly exhibiting a negative light, well, guess what? That's going to be the template that they base everything from. When the truth is the opposite. That's why. Can I laugh? Can I share this with y'all? For the intended ear, intended heart. That's why I used to always say, stay prayed up. Be mindful what you speak into existence. Energy out is energy returned. I used to echo those through all my videos. And I can truly say, in now 10 years, a lot of my prayers have come back. I look on social media and the same things I've spoken, I've actually heard people pretty much dissect a lot of of my content and spin it into their own. I remember when I used to always say at the end of my videos, if you got any questions or concerns, you need advice or anything, inbox me. People are jumping on social media like it's an it thing. And you know, props to those if the intentions is pure. But I see a lot of selfishness. I see a lot of vindictiveness being portrayed. And that part's sad. And I don't say that with a judging tone. But I do discern it. When I came out with the top 10 list, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people use it. How to know if he's the one, she's the one. I've actually seen people take that and make books out of it. My catchphrases, I've heard them. Speak your truth. Cosign. Attempted money grab. It's like, that's the one beautiful thing I love about having your own channel, because it's time stamped. But because I don't have a vindictive bone in my body, I still got what I asked for. The conversations are being had. There were no podcasts back then. Nobody was having those real conversations that need to be had. No one was doing that. Then someone said, oh, I'm going to talk about mental health. I've been talking about mental health since 2011. So I'm grateful that we're in a space that the conversation is being had. Because that's what's going to break generational curses and bad habits passed down by constant. You do understand, family, the generational curse is nothing but a pattern. It is nothing but a behavior. And I used to always use this analogy. And I kind of took it from a scripture about creation. First, it was the Word. And I changed it a little bit, and I said, first, there was thought. Where did that thought come from? It came from the Most High. Or the not so Most High. It's manifested here. Then it is transmuted to word. And then word becomes a pattern. The pattern becomes action. Action becomes behavior. I used to say that all the time. But nothing more than you're speaking things into existence. Energy out is energy eventually returned. That's why bad behavior should not be celebrated. But that's the world we live in today. So, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, no, I know how it was for me. I don't want that for her. Especially, she's a female. She needs her father. She needs that sense of security. Now, not a day went by that I didn't pray that if her mother did remarry or was in whatever, that the man that would have access to our daughter, he would always have her best interest. But see, this is something I don't know, because her development has been shrouded in secrecy. I do not know. It's not like I haven't tried. And I got the receipts on that. I've got every email that I've ever wrote in regards to my daughter. I still have that. But let me cut this fan off. But I had about 2 months ago, because I officially live here. This is my spot. Mortgage payer now. I had extended. I took the time to write her, and I would do that periodically, because I didn't want her to ever think that, I don't care and I'm not thinking about it. And not a day goes by that she's not in my prayers and I'm not thinking about it. And with that being said, it also humbled me in regards to my relationship with my father. Now, I've been blessed to have a dad. Not a day goes by that I don't give thanks for him being in my life. But for my father, nobody's promised tomorrow. Nobody wants to have regrets that you didn't have the moments that were intended. Because when people transition, they transition. You can't do anything about it. So I've made a point to reach out. And how you doing? How's you doing? Everything okay? I make a point. And I find myself, even still to this day, when I talk to him, the little boy in me comes out. And I know part of it is respect, but the other part is because you're doing the right thing. You should never be fearful for doing the right thing. That's integrity. So, but I also saw the correlation of, it was like God was saying, until you give me what I want, I'm not going to give you what you need. That was crystal clear. So until I put the effort to communicate, I can't expect communication from my children. And I say children because I still have yet to find out if indeed Alex is my biological son. I'm convinced he is. I've reached out to him, and I've put it out there. Look, I will pay for the testing. Just give me a P.O. box. I'll send it, and just turn it in. I haven't heard anything yet. So I've learned through the years, when a person does not respond, they're hoping that you'll give up. They're hoping that you'll assume that that's no or whatever. It's a test. But see, we don't play games over here. Which leads me to this. after I read that, I made a point to write. I made a point to write back, and I was very respectful. But I was very clear too, because what I was not going to do is allow my daughter to play the victim card in this. And I don't mean to sound harsh. And what I mean by victim card is to believe the narrative that has been portrayed. You know, that's why you always hear the truth. There's their star, there's their story, there's your story, and then there's the truth. Well, my story hasn't changed in 21 years. I'm still transparent. I'm still the one, like, you want to sit down and talk? Sure, not a problem. I can't say that for my former spouse. And I realize this too, and I could be wrong. But I do know that a common reaction a lot of times is control related. In essence, because I can't get what I want, you will not get what you need. That's why you see the vindictiveness play out. And being the fact that at that time we were in Virginia, she was from California, that's the best buffer you could have. Distance. And, you know, with the child support laws in California, it made it very, very hard for me. But guess what? Even when they did that, I didn't contest it. I even went out and got me a second job on top of my full-time job, and I kept it moving. And I remember one day, and I'm gonna get back to the message that I read. I remember I talked to her mother on the phone briefly, and she said, you know, it didn't have to play out like this if you had just packed up and came out there. So once again, it was about control, because I did not fold. Tried to make life difficult as best as you could, but I persevered through it all. If anything, it pushed me to be a better person than I knew. And then eventually, I got in that relationship, and that was a test that pushed me to my breaking point, but it forced me to love myself even more. And then that's what leaned me or motivated me to embrace my spirituality, because I knew that no matter what, I would always say in my prayers, God, no matter what is being shown, I know that you have something better for me. And for that, I trust. And it helped me through a lot. And it would cause me to get through my depression. Because, I was depressed like hell. Oh, man. I don't know anybody that could go through what I went through and come out of it unscathed. They had a field day with your boy. But all that did was make me love myself even more, value who I was, and define my direction. And that's what Brianna needed. So, when I responded back to her, with care, I let her know. I said, look, you're not a victim. And let me back up. 2 months ago, I sent a message out to her just to check on, like I've always done. I would make a point to send those loving breadcrumbs, basically, just to let her know, hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're okay. Just to acknowledge, and in that, I asked the question that would you consider coming out here to visit? And I would pay for it. I said it could be just for the weekend as a start, but just consider that. And my daughter's fashion, I don't get no response. That's how the narrative has been for years. But I know deep down in my heart, she reads everything that comes across. Because she's a true Gemini. You just don't know. See, that's one thing about Gemini folks. They're very intelligent, borderline genius, but borderline sociopaths. You're just Jekyll and Hyde all day. You just don't know who you gonna get. But my thing was, I don't care who show up. I'm still your father. That's something you can't deny. And and one of her sentiments was like, I don't, because she always says I preach. She said, you always preaching about, wanting to be in my life, but I needed more than that. So I'm taking these notes in my mind, what she's saying. And she's referencing because I didn't go out there. Actually, I had been out there before in the beginning. And one of the things that I asked for from her mom was, you and I need to come up with a plan on visitation. 1 year, I'll fund it. The next year, you'll fund it. And we can work the holidays. I was willing to do everything. Because our daughter deserved that. She never wanted that at all. The agenda was, no, you come out, you move to California. That's what she wanted. And I was not going to do that because I didn't have any support system out there. And I was not going to be like so many people I've seen where, it's just not healthy. It's toxic. And I wasn't going to put myself in that position. So, with Brianna, I basically told her, I said, the choice, because she would always say, well, I don't know you. You haven't been in my life in 15 years. Even though in them 15 years, I didn't text the hell out of her. I didn't send cell phones out there, paid for by me. I've done everything I could to make sure that she was not inhibited from having access to me. And it was blocked. It was just blocked. So for me, I was like, if I'm doing all this, plus I am being the non-custodial parent, I'm honoring my support, which the amount of support that I was paying, I should have had 4 children, but I didn't even contest it. I was like, if anybody gonna go without, it'll be me. And I did it. And all I asked was for our daughter to have access to both of us. And I was flexible. I was willing. She did not want to give me that. So, for my daughter to say, I don't know you, I had to retort back, And I said, well, nothing stops you from picking up the phone yourself. Nothing prevented you from just telling your mom you want to see me. You can't use that as a buy one size fit justification. No. Communication is sender receiver. I wish it was different, but it wasn't. And see, that goes back to what I was saying. The worst thing, the most selfish thing a parent can do is use your children as a pawn towards the other parent. Because guess what? That child's going to need counseling. And we wonder why people get into risky behaviors. If they don't have a support system, they're going to go to where they think they're supported, even if it puts them at risk. Why don't we talk about that? So when I wrote her back, I was like, well, you're grown. Because she acknowledged my efforts, but then came right behind it and said, but I don't know you. You haven't been around in 15 years. And I said, well, you haven't been in my life either. But when it comes to effort, I've done all I could with the tools I had. Because if you wanted me in your life too, you could have made it a point. And I know some women are going to be like, no. No. If a child wants to be with, see that, you prevent that. And the right thing to do is to afford your child what you didn't have. So, not to be winded, I acknowledged what she said and I responded in tow of, well, okay. Well, you know how I feel. You also know what I've requested. And what I've requested was to be in your life. I've tried and tried and tried. And have you? So there was a choice made. So you can't say, well, my dad wasn't in my life and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. When your dad wants to be in your life, but you're not giving forth effort either. It's just wrong. Now, so I turned around when she said that, because one thing that I do is she's always been on my insurance since her first breath. So for her to say that came off a little condescending. I responded, I said, well, I'm perplexed because for someone to say that you don't know me, you use my medical insurance whenever you go to the clinic because I get the receipts for it. So how is it that you don't know me? You can't have it both ways. And I told her too, because I also know that there's some resentment there because the fact is, there were probably some things that she desired that may not have been afforded. But how would I know if I don't have communication with you? The person you need to communicate that with is your mom. Just like when we split The one thing I literally begged her, I said, do not deprive Brianna a relationship with me. Because her mom didn't have a relationship with her father because he unfortunately passed at when she was only 4. So you see the common denominator? You had 2 parents that didn't have relationships with their biological fathers. Why would you turn around and carry that on to the next generation? That's the most selfish thing you could ever do. But what I won't do is play the doormat. I will do all that I can. And I told her I said, well, you know where I'm at. You have a means to contact me. I've offered. You chose to decline. I have to respect that. And in turn, the next time we communicate will be from you. Because I do understand why they say silence is golden. And, you know, when you get to a point that you've done all that you can do with the tools you have to step back. Because right now, she has no respect. And I know that is by fear. A lot of that's fear-based. But at the end of the day, I'm still her father. My blood runs through her veins. When she wakes up and looks in the mirror, she sees me. She favors me. So, once again, how is it that you don't know me? You look at my track record. Come on, think of it. After a while, people will give up. I've been doing this for 15 years. Talking to a ghost. I've had a relationship with a keypad or a computer screen than my flesh and blood daughter. Do I like this? Hell no. But until she wants that, there's nothing I can do. All I can do is pray that she's out of harm's way and pray that God gives me enough time on this earth to eventually heal this bond, you know, this relationship. As for Alex, it's dual on both parts. But the only difference is with Alex, I did not know about him. I didn't know of his existence until 2019 going into, no, not 2019. 2019 going into 20. And that was when I had my health scare with my heart. I literally, it clicked like, whoa, this might be my son. And that's when the journey began. And plus, more importantly, if that's the case, they need to know you have a sibling. And what's really funny, figuratively, is I always longed to have a son. Never thought I did. Never had another one. Little did I know, God possibly had already blessed me 7 years before Bree was, because he's 28, Bree's 21. So, you know, Only time will tell. Sorry, family. I know I've been winded, but just wanted to share. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth, and for that, it helps me discern mine. We all have one life. It is your responsibility how you govern it. I heard somebody say tonight, because people, what did they say, skin folk, because people are of skin folk, but no, because people are skin folk don't mean they are kin folk. I saw this video on YouTube talking about that. Talk about some synchronicity. But anyway, family, I hope you're well. Tell the people that matter in your life you love them. Make a point to reach out, even just for a moment. And if you can't, continue to love them from afar. Continue to pray in their behalf for that breakthrough so that your family can be whole. Be blessed.